This is a PC review of the two desktop computers for gaming and video editing. One is based upon the Ryzen 5600 CPU with the Asus TUF motherboard, and the other is based upon the Xeon 2666 V3 CPU with the 8MF motherboard. Hi, I'm Dr. Peter Achuda, a computer engineer. A few years ago, my Acer Nitro 5 laptop burnt some of its cores. It was using an Intel Core i7-9750H CPU, which is the laptop version of the i7-9750 CPU. Like many computer users, I thought that the laptop would be easy to carry around. Unfortunately, over the last 15 years, my laptop has never left my table. In fact, what I had done was to make my videos of my work and post it on YouTube as an unlisted video. This allowed those who knew the link to view my work. Then I found out that most gamers and video editors use desktop PCs and not laptops because desktops have bigger and better cooling, so their CPUs can run faster and hotter. I ran many experiments over 2 to 3 years to ensure that the cooling is very effective, especially in countries where the weather is hot with the climate change. My room temperature is around 30 to 35 degrees Celsius or 91 to 95 Fahrenheit, while most of the tests are done in the West is at 20 to 24 degrees Celsius or 68 to 75 degrees Fahrenheit. The Americans and the Europeans test their computers at cooler temperatures. I do blame Intel for improper overheating detection and improper slowdown or shutdown to stop the laptop CPU overheating. This was the reason my laptop burnt 3 out of 6 cores. In Malaysia, they cannot replace the laptop CPU as no one has the equipment to do this. This is because the laptop CPU is soldered to the motherboard, so I was stuck with a bad CPU that only operated at 50% capacity. Desktops do not have this problem and their CPUs are easily replaceable or upgraded because they are placed inside a socket that is soldered to the motherboard. This was the reason I switched to desktops. Basically, we have two new desktop computers, the Asus TUF with Ryzen 5600 and the Firefly 8MF with the Xeon 2666 V3 CPU. The Ryzen 5600 is a brand new CPU and has a TDP of 65 watts and a maximum operating temperature of 90 degrees Celsius. On the other hand, the Xeon CPUs are sturdy and reliable compared to the Intel Core i7-9750H that was in my Acer Nitro 5 laptop. I suspect that the Intel Core i7-9750H does not have a proper shutdown when overheating, and that was the reason my laptop burnt 3 of its 6 cores. The brand new Xeon CPUs were priced around $3,000 to $4,000, but we are assembling desktop computers based on used and refurbished Xeon CPUs, hence their prices are much lower at about $20 to $120. Basically, the Firefly desktops are for those who are interested in gaming and video editing. I used to do video editing on my Acer Nitro 5 laptop, but it began to overheat and until it burnt 3 out of 6 cores. It has been limping around since then. 3 cores is sufficient for you to do word processing and text editing, as in software programming is a good example of this, or just watching YouTube videos. Unfortunately, the moment you need to play many fast action games and video editing, 3 cores is insufficient, and you will find that the computer performance is unbearably slow. Furthermore, on older versions of Filmora, My YouTube videos would take about 45 minutes to 1.5 hours to process and export. The Xeon 2666 V3 CPU is a 10-core CPU with a clock frequency of 2.9 GHz. It was first marketed in 2015. The ones we get are used CPUs as they are very hardy and have proper overheating shutdown procedures, which makes them very useful and reliable. The AMD Ryzen 5600 is a 6-core CPU operating at 3.5 GHz and is brand new. They operate at lower power consumption, so they don't need sophisticated coolers. The prices in Malaysia is about 440 ringgit or about $100. The Asus TUF has a hard disk, SSD and Wi-Fi built in and a 2.5 gigabit LAN. The Xeon has hard disk, SSD, 1 gigabit LAN and Wi-Fi card. Both have several USB 2 and 3 ports. We found out that we could not see any noticeable improvements if the SSD speed is fast. Our SSDs have a read and write speeds of 3500 megabytes per second to 3200 megabytes per second. You can get SSDs that read and write at 7500 megabytes per second, but they are more expensive and may not provide a noticeable performance improvement. If your game does frequent and numerous access to the SSD, then you may observe an improvement. In general, all game data should be stored in the graphics card's video RAM so that there is not much read and write activity to the motherboard RAM or to the SSDs. Ideally, 8TB or more video RAM is sufficient. Modern games with detailed visuals may require more memory, but in most cases, we can reduce the details in the game settings. You will find that the LAN speed of 1 gigabit or 2.5 gigabit does not matter much if you are gaming. If you are transferring a lot of data, several gigabytes at a time frequently, as in a server, you may notice a difference, but most of us do not do high data transfer rates. Once we fixed all the concepts and finalized the design of our desktops, we changed the motherboard to the Asus TUF B550 with the Ryzen 5600 CPU. I did a lot of experiments on noise cancellation, and basically what I developed was a soundproof foam inside a pouch that was strapped to my neck, and between my neck and the soundproof foam was a rodeo mic. So this reduced the external traffic sound a lot. This meant that I did not have to wake up at 2 in the morning to create my videos. And the best part of it is that it really helped me a lot. It was only after I discovered the Asus TUF AI noise cancellation that I managed to clearly work any time of the day or night, even though there was heavy traffic on the main road outside my room. Because the Asus motherboards had AI noise cancellation built in. This noise cancellation is brilliant for making YouTube videos from a home studio that is next to the main road with a lot of traffic noise. All tests were carried out with the RTX 3060 Ti graphics card with a 4K TV screen. The performance would have been better if we used a 1080p TV screen. If you need a more powerful gaming graphics card, then we can provide you with a 3080 Ti card, which is about the same performance as the 4070 graphics card. We can order any other card for you too. So from a gaming and a video editing point of view, there's not much difference in performance, but there is a big difference in pricing. So do check out our latest prices for both these desktops.